Okay, gang, today is kind of a special day. I'm going to share with you Rangoon's rib recipe. It is a recipe to make baby back smoked ribs the real way. No shortcuts. This is not for the faint of heart, but if you want to quickly become a pit master, literally overnight, follow this recipe, all the little insights and tricks and tips that I teach you, and you will be able to make the best ribs, literally the best ribs on the planet. Whether it's family, friends, guests coming in from out of town, when I make Rangoon's ribs, people salivate, and they're so stinking good. No cutting corners. This process is gonna take about an hour to prep and get ready for the ribs and get them on the smoker, and it takes about 5 hours to smoke them. So this is not a cutting corners cheating process. This is the real rib master recipe, and I think you're really gonna dig it. So here we go. Okay, gang, you have outside prep and inside prep. Obviously, we're inside now. Here's some of the things you're gonna need. I use a couple of baking pans so that I can prepare the ribs before I bring them out to the grill and then to the smoker. I have a bowl for the barbecue sauce. I love Sweet Baby Ray's. A couple spices, garlic and parsley and lemon pepper, Italian dressing, and of course some baked beans to be able to have with the ribs once you make them. And I have some foil pans, turkey pans, for afterwards when the ribs are done. I just mound them in there so that people can dig in and eat them. And just a couple of things about wet and dry rub and all these different things you hear that confuse you. It's really a preference. People say, what kind of barbecue sauce do you use? And barbecue sauce isn't important. It's the process in making sweet and tender ribs that is what's important. What I do, and I'm gonna show you in a little while, I wet them first before they go on the gas grill to sear with Italian dressing. Any kind you want is fine. Then before they go on the smoker, we make sure that we put some spices on front and rear of the ribs. So that's the basic information you need for what ingredients you need inside. We're gonna go outside here in a minute and we're gonna talk about the grill. See ya. Okay, gang, outside preparation. 22.5-inch Weber smoker. Oh yeah. I'm gonna tell you some more about that and how I use that versus a typical gas or kettle grill for indirect smoking, not direct smoking. We'll talk more about that later. So here's some of the ingredients. Kingsford briquettes. I use nothing but Kingsford briquettes. They're the best. And let's talk a little bit about the wood I use. A lot of pit masters use mesquite, oak, or hickory, which some people say can get them a bit of an upset stomach, a little gassy. So instead, I use apple, pear, or cherry wood. This happens to be apple wood chunks. There they are right there. They're, fist-sized pieces of wood, and I'm gonna show you what we do with them and where we put them a little bit later. Rib rack, essential. If you're gonna do a bunch of ribs, you have to have the rib rack so that the ribs can stand up and get air between them as the smoke and the moisture comes around. Also, of course, lighter fluid and a lighter. The secret recipe, Coca-Cola. Talk to you more about that later. A little bit of Captain Morgan private stock spiced rum, some beer, any beer will do, and a bottle opener. So those are the ingredients that you need on the outside, and I'll come back in a little while and I'll tell you more about how it's gonna come together. See ya. Okay, gang, so we're outside and things are starting to heat up literally. You can see in the red zone. This is the propane grill, and it's on hot, hot, hot. This is phase one of the ribs. What I do is I sear both sides of the ribs and spice them on the grill here. And then you'll see my trusty assistant, Jonas, the rib master's assistant, and he is lighting up, excellent, the coals. So we'll come back in a little bit and we'll talk more about what we're gonna do next, but we're gonna go into the kitchen now to get things ready and start prepping the ribs. Say see ya, Jonas.
See ya.
The wet rub first. Any kind of Italian dressing that you like. And something I gotta share with you, I get these from Costco, and Costco does this for me, but one of the most important things when you're making ribs, especially baby backs, there's an outside curve, there's an inside curve. On the inside curve, there's a very fine membrane that you have to pull off. And the way you do it is using a paper towel, and you can literally go from the top and you can find that membrane and it comes off in one big piece. Very important that you take that off so that the moisture and the smoke gets into both sides of it. So what I'm gonna do quite simply is put the Italian dressing on the inside, and I'm gonna put it on the outside. Nice and easy like that. Just make it nice and wet. So there's one. Again, just nice and wet. You don't want to drench it. I mean, so there's pools of dressing on it, but you want to get it so that it's wet enough. It has some good flavor and spices in there, and the spices that we're going to add will stick. So that's this phase. Good to go. Thanks, Tom. Phase one in prepping the kettle. We have the briquettes nice and hot now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock them down. Try not to get burned because it's really hot. And by the way, put a nice thick bed of briquettes. Don't be afraid. We're gonna have to do this one more time mid-smoke, maybe 2.5 hours in or so. So the briquettes are ready to go. They're nice and level. We're gonna take some nice chunks of apple wood, again, because we want that sweet flavor and not the smoky so much. That's ready to go. I like to center the grate so that everything's nice and even. Then the next thing we do is put the middle section on. And here's what's different. I'm gonna take that, Jonas. Thanks, buddy. And here's what's different about smoking with indirect heat versus grilling with direct heat. When you are cooking a steak or a chicken or whatever, you have the fuel source, and then you have the grill. So it's heat and grill. But when we smoke, there's a middle layer, and that is a drip pan. And I'll be back in a minute to show you what we're gonna put in there. You saw the drip pan, here's the grill. Gary and I are filling it up with, Gary's putting some Coca-Cola in the drip pan. Jonas, you can come down and take a look if you want. See, it's filling up, it's a bathtub full of sweet sugar. And also, gonna put in a couple beers, whatever kind of beer you like. Alrighty, take a look in there, Jonas. That thing is almost full. We have the cooking grate on, and then very important, the rib rack. So the rib rack is gonna go right here. We're gonna put our lid on and let that start coming up to temperature. And right now, we're good. So we have the wet ribs right now. And Jonas, come in close and take a look at how I did this. I did this purposely, guys, for this reason. I'm gonna spice them pretty well. And I'm not happy with how that's coming out, so we're gonna, there we go, okay. So we're spicing them there. We're spicing them here first with the lemon pepper. And there's a reason I'm doing it before they go on. And then we've got the garlic and parsley. And you can use whatever spices you like. Don't let people fool you that the spices are what make the ribs. The moisture in the bark are what make the ribs. Right, Gary?
Ditto.
Ditto. Okay, so those are ready to go. Now what we're gonna do, guys, 5 minutes on each side. We have a nice hot grill. We should hear these sear when they go on. There we go. One. Meat side down first. Spice side down. 2. And here's 3. And now here's the key. While they're there, you want to hit them with the second round of spices so they're done being spiced. Because you're only going to have them on there for one flip. That's why you got to spice them ahead of time. So there's one round with the garlic and parsley. Here's some of the lemon pepper. We're going to shut the old girl down and give them 5 minutes to sear. 5 minutes in to the first round. You can see the meat is already turning a little color. There we go. They got a nice sear on one side. That locks in the juices. Nothing pretty about these. It's like handling a whole hog. They're so heavy. So you just got to get in there and manhandle them. So those babies are ready. Remember, they're already spiced on both sides. 5 more minutes and then we're going to start stacking them on the rack. Okay, Jonas, come over here, but can you see? Guys, we're in the smoke area. It's 200 to 250. It's a little hot because we just got it started in the coals. We're rocking and rolling. But you want to keep it in that 200 to 250 range. And the way you do that, these little twistable grates here, that's literally like the thermostat on your oven. You open and close them. I keep them typically the 3 in the bottom about halfway. And then Jonas has another one over here in the top. And this top one I keep about halfway. If it gets too hot, close that down. If it gets too cool, open them up. But I found about halfway is right. Now check this out. It's nice and hot in there. And there's the rib rack. And the liquid is starting to boil inside. Sorry for all the smoke, guys. The liquid is starting to bubble inside. And what we're gonna do now, we're gonna take these babies and we start throwing them in. And the key is, I alternate the fat end. Fat end here, fat end there, fat end here, fat end there, and you keep them all going the same way because it's critical to keep that space open in between. So now we got the fat end here. I'm reversing it. See what happened? We got fat end, and they're both curving this way. And here's number 3. We need fat end on this side this time, as I get the smoke in my eyes. Okay, so we got 3 slabs in. How we're gonna get 12 in, I'm not quite sure, but those babies are in. We wanna close this so it keeps the heat in. And I'm going right over here back to the process of putting 3 more slabs on. This is the biggest challenge during the whole process, really is the beginning part. 1, 2, remember these sides are already spiced. And now we're gonna spice the other sides. Boom, lemon pepper. Boom, garlic and parsley. Ba-boom. 5 more minutes. All right, we are about 2 hours in, guys. I have the hatch open, and you'll notice from the side hatch, we don't have to go through the top anymore. We have the drip pan, which is right below that smoke coming out. And then on the very bottom, we have the coals. So I put a whole bunch of charcoal back in and refueled it. I'm gonna add some chunks of apple wood. And then up top here, in the drip pan, I'm pouring in some water, because it doesn't have to be straight Coke. You'll notice I have some beer and some more rum. We're gonna add a little bit more Captain Morgan in there. Let me get a couple of bottles of beer. You gotta try to do this carefully so you don't get blinded by the smoke. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. And that drip pan is nice and full now. You don't want to overflow it. And the coals, a nice new bed of fresh coals and some apple woods coming in. And we're gonna let those 12 rib packs smoke on up. Come back in a couple hours and they should be close to done. I don't want to pull the lid off right now because they're really packed in there tight, but I will in a little bit. Okay, see ya. Okay, I only do this once during the process because if you're looking, you ain't cooking. I'm just coming over to check. Yep, look at that. We're right in the 200 to 250 smoke range, so that's perfect. One time I take the lid off to take a look at it and see how these babies are coming. We're about 2.5 hours in, so almost halfway. I hope that one of them doesn't fall on the ground. Oh, yeah. Looky there. That is perfect. Yep. I can't believe they actually all fit. I've never done 12 before. Look at that, packed in like a bunch of sardines. Okay. What? Oh, you got to get a picture? Go ahead. Isn't that like artwork, man? Unbelievable. Holy moly.
Oh my God, I didn't, how many people we gonna
Okay, you guys good? Okay, thanks, Thomas. Okay, I'm gonna put the old babies back in bed. Okay, I've already been pulling some of these out of here because they kind of come out, you know, on a conveyor belt. Some are done sooner than later, but check that out right there. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh yeah, so the way that you know is this one's, I'm gonna do a bigger one because it's a better example. See this guy right here? When they break off like that, that's when they're ready. So I just get those ready. I bring a handful in at a time. I'm gonna bring in this slab. I'm gonna bring in, this looks like a good one. The fatter ones obviously take a little more time. That's a fat guy. This one looks ready, watch. See that? It's breaking right off. I never use a timer, I can tell just by the feel. So that one right there. Let's see what else we got. That's a little fat guy. This one's a fat guy. That one's starting to break apart, but we'll give it a little more time. Yeah, these are all fatties. Maybe this guy here. Oh yeah, there's a good one right there too, Jonas. Check that out. Okay, cool. So that's how you take them off, and these took about 4.5, almost 5 hours. And I just keep repositioning these. And if you look down here, you'll see the Coca-Cola and rum is bubbling still, and there's plenty of coals to get us through this round of ribs. So that's it. We'll take you inside and show you how we throw on some Q sauce. Over and out. Start. Okay, gang, so now we're in the kitchen, and we just brought these in from outside, and what I do is I lay these down on their back. I give it a good spoonful of sauce, rub it around a little bit, get it all over, flip them over, another spoonful of sauce, rub it over good, and I try not to cut them perfectly. I try just to kind of chomp them so it leaves some raggedy meat sitting like that. It seems kind of more fun to eat that way. And if you really want to do it right, you can look at the back and see where the bones are and use that as a guide. But I pull them apart like that. Look at that. Look at that rib meat, man. Gigantic pieces of delicious rib meat. It's amazing. And then I put them over here in this tray, and because it takes me, you know, a good hour to get them off and get them all prepped, I just put this in the oven on 200 so they stay warm. And another minute or two, we'll take videos of people eating Rangoon's ribs and see what they think. Thanks, Jonas. Okay, gang, so this is the final picture here. We got Uncle Chubby's delicious coleslaw. We got Rangoon's ribs, a mountain of them with a bunch more still on the smoker. We got Tina's cucumber salad, and we've got some baked beans cooking up. And this is what it's all about, family hanging out. Hey guys, how are the ribs?
Oh yeah, ribs.
Yama?
Very good. I think you need to check anyone that drove here. You need to check their vehicle. Make sure there's none stuck in the back.
Right, stuck in the muffler to cool out. I mean, yeah,
I hope that delivery made it to
there. Mom, how are the ribs?
They got one.
Delicious? Good? Okay. Over and out. It's a wrap. Okay, the day is over. We had a long day. How many slabs?
Dozen.
A dozen slabs of Babyback Ribs. And as the sun is slowly starting to set here in beautiful Longboat Key, I'm here with my best friend who I love, G3.
G cubed.
G cubed.
And I can't eat another bite.
Boy. Moist, barbecue, crunchy. Life is good, man.
Perfect.
I love you. Rangoon's ribs and some wine. Bye-bye.